Hello everyone, this is Ted the Old Star Wars Nerd, and today I'm starting a new segment. Now, most of you probably don't remember, or you're probably not even old enough to know about the story of when in 1985 the Coca-Cola Company decided to abandon their tried and true formula and go with this other formula. Now, this formula that they'd come up with had been tested in blind taste tests all over, and everybody preferred it over Coke and Pepsi at the time. But when they introduced it, it just did not go over with people. People hated it, failed miserably. So much so that within 79 days, the Coca Cola Corporation was forced to announce a return to the old flavor. Now, that old flavor was then branded Coke Classic for many years. Okay, so in honor of Coca Cola doing the right thing and returning to what their fans wanted, I'm making a new segment called Star Wars Classic. In this segment, I'll talk about anything having to do with Star Wars before October 30th, 2012, the Day of Doom. In this first segment, I thought I would talk about how I was introduced in Star Wars. Let's see. Released May 25th, 1977. I was 7 years old, and I was nearing the end of first grade. I don't remember there being any sort of anticipation for the movie. I don't remember a big build up. It wasn't like we were all waiting around for Star Wars. I do remember that I had seen the commercial and just it wasn't, it was, interesting. It was something to be interested in, but if you've seen that commercial, you'd understand. It's not that great. Family wasn't the wealthiest, so my earliest memories of hearing about Star Wars, or hearing more about it, I guess, besides seeing the commercial on TV, was hearing about kids talking about it the week after it was released. A couple of kids in class had gone and they'd talked about it, and so I was talking to my buddy Donnie, and we'd made plans to see it after school was ended over the summer. It was last week of school, so summer comes around, and I was a little bit further out of town than most, so I didn't really have any neighbors within walking distance. Didn't really have any friends that could come over. And at the end of the day, after I got off the bus, that was it. I didn't have anybody else. That was family. That's all I had. So during the summer, I didn't get to see any friends either. Most of the times, they were too far away to go to pick up and play for the day, and sleepovers were just you didn't. It was a weird time back then. Anyway, so my only friend was usually my cousin that was my age that would come over and play. His mom would drop him off while she took off for her friends for days and didn't come back. So my aunt that usually lived next door, she was 18-ish. I don't know. Can't remember. She's old enough to drive. She decided to take us all out to movie, and it was a big deal because the closest one to us was about 30 miles away, and it was one of those big cinemas that had the big fancy lobby, the huge balcony, the huge lobby, like you see in the movies, just these big, huge theaters, the fancy ones, with one screen. And I believe it's still standing last I checked. It's called the Ridgely Theater in Fort Worth, Texas. Probably not near as fancy as what I remember because I was 7 years old. So it was probably about the third or fourth weekend Star Wars had been playing. But I remember us driving by the front. We drove by the front of the place when we pulled up, and there was a huge line out front already. Just people waiting because you had to, buy your tickets to go in. There wasn't no pre-sales. So everybody's waiting in line for ticket sales, and ticket sales went on sale like an hour and a half before the movie. I can't remember. Either way, so we get out there. We get in line. And I don't remember any chatter in the line about people who had seen it, multiple times already, because, like I said, only about the fourth week. Um, so then we got in line and got in, and we got in our place. We were up on the balcony, and it got real dark. Well, and I could look down. I could see the huge crowd of people that were down below the balcony. All the kids with popcorn, and all the families and everything. I just remembered, to me, it looked huge, tremendously huge. And um, so it got dark, and the movie started, and the big 20th Century Fox logo comes on, and then it gets all quiet. And then you hear the bomb, 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 and Star Wars pops up on the screen. And you hear that big Star Wars intro, the big fanfare, and it comes up that says on the screen, and it's no New Hope, no Episode 4, just Star Wars. And the crawl comes up. I can't remember anything about that. I was just out of first grade, just barely learned how to read, so I probably didn't pay much attention to that. And you see the first spaceship. So I remember that. I remember seeing that and thinking, wow, that's really neat. And then all of a sudden the big Star Destroyer just comes over everything and just takes over the screen. And I was into it at that time, and we were just off. That was crazy after that. So I was stunned, to say the least. No, I didn't want to leave at the end. And my cousin liked it, and my aunt liked it, but they weren't impressed like I was. I loved it, and by the time school started again, I was able to talk my mom into taking me at least one more time. So then I met up with my buddy at school, and we talked about it, and he liked it. You know, everybody seemed to like it, but nobody was really, into it like I was, it seemed. I don't know. It just So anyway, as more time went on, I got more into it. I was always able to talk my parents into giving me the toys, which was amazing after I figured out the prices on them. And R2-D2 has always been my favorite, and this right here was my first one. This is my first R2-D2. He's a little worn, but I am not going to fix him. He can stay just like that. Since 1978, he was the start of it all. And so anyway, so at that time I collected what I could. What I have on the shelf behind me is a very small fraction of what I once had. I had to sell quite a bit of it for some reasons, but what I have left I value very much. And as I learned what the prices were of some of these, like I say, I'm astounded I ever had what I had. Because if you go and look back on the prices of some of the toys back then, they weren't exactly cheap to a normal average family. Anyway, I was always jealous of my cousin's collection. He had way more than I had. His parents bought him everything he ever wanted, and so I'm just so grateful for my parents for giving me what I had, and I wish they were still around so I could ask them about it. But anyway, that was what started me down the path. In the future, I'll tell more stories about the other things, the other movies, and as I see fit. So again, welcome to my channel. I'd also like to give a plug for my other video series where I talk about the Star Wars Expanded Universe. I'm just finished up a video on Revan. It's an evolving thing, and I'd welcome any input. To close out the segment, I'd like to go off on a little small rant. I'm launching this series of videos on what is the true Star Wars Day, May 25th. Now, do a Google on May 4th, and you will see that it's recent invention. It is a recent invention, only more recently co-opted by Disney so that they can more heavily market their items to you. Don't buy into it. You'll go look and see that Disney's took over in 2013, has been heavily publishing it since. Before then, a couple of people did it in 2008, 2011, they started something. But before that, it was a joke, and nobody really cared. It was just a pun. So enjoy May 4th for what it is, a clever pun. But it is not Star Wars Day. May 25th is the day Star Wars was released. May 25th is the day Return of the Jedi was released and ended the stories. So May 25th is Star Wars Day. Thank you for joining me on this day to celebrate the greatest saga ever put to film. And thank you for celebrating Star Wars Day. Thank you again for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you like the videos, please comment below. Like the videos, subscribe to my channel, hit the little bell if you want to be notified when I put out new videos. All that fun stuff. I really appreciate it. Nobody could really tell you. I really appreciate it. And just having a blast making these things. So anyway, thanks again. This is Ted, the old Star Wars nerd, signing off.